So this is the story of how I nearly died at my job. So first off, my best friend is always telling me my life is like a comedy anime. So instead of laughing about how he's always right, I'm gonna just share with you today's episode of my life. And I'll simply start by just talking about my day. Before I start, there should be a few details I should tell you about. To begin, I should say I work at a Subway. A job that I actually quit probably I want to say about a year and a half ago. Problem is my sister is the manager, so she's always like, you can't just quit on me out of nowhere. You're the only one that takes me seriously around here. She's always asking, well, if I need you, can you at least just cover some shifts? And I'm like, sure, why not? So today, or yesterday, it's like somewhat yesterday. Yesterday, I woke up around about 7 o'clock, my usual. Well, actually, my arms been kind of bothering me, so I actually woke up like 18 times throughout the night, and I just couldn't force myself awake at 7 a.m. I always tried it for 7 hours, because that's when I'm most active. But I didn't really force myself awake until about 11. After that, I decided I kind of wanted to try some new games. So I checked my bank account and I realized I am so dead broke. To be honest, I only have like 450 bucks. So when bills comes at the end of the month, that's pretty much gone. Sorry, I felt like I'm nervous for some reason. I just chugged half an energy drink. Anyway, so I realized I kind of need to start working some more shifts. And then I get a message from one of my coworkers. Hey, I'm really sick. I was hoping you could cover for me. It's a 6 to close, which is basically 11 o'clock at night. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is so perfect. It's just what I needed, not to ask for more shifts, but to quote unquote reluctantly agree to some. That way I don't sound like I need the job. But I messaged them back wanting to sound as reliable as possible and be like, yeah, I got you, don't worry about it, feel better soon. You know, the usual. Next, a few hours later, I start playing Dead by Daylight without Fame. And then he actually brings up how got nothing to do today. And that makes me realize it's already like 4 o'clock. I gotta get ready for work. I completely forgot I had agreed to cover a shift. That was my first chance to just not show up and say I completely forgot. But no. I did the responsible thing. I ditched out Fame and got ready for work, which I was miraculously on time for. So yeah, I come in, I'm thinking to myself, man, it's gonna be a great day. I get to come in at 6 instead of the usual 5 o'clock. That'll mean some of the stuff is probably already done. It's also Thursday, so the truck came yesterday, meaning they were out of everything yesterday. So they should be overstocked from yesterday, meaning there should just be enough from yesterday for me not to have to cut onions, cut other stuff, have a lot less stuff to do. Boy, was I wrong. I come in, I see a pile of dishes, I see a bar, the bar isn't stocked at all, I see there's a line to the door. In fact, before I even pulled up, there was a giant truck in my parking spot. There was so many people, it was hard to even park. That was my second sign to just not come in. My second chance to just not come in and say I forgot I had to work today. But I came in. They were so busy. We were extremely behind, and I got stuck doing a pile of dishes that seemed way too much for the 5 o'clock shift to have had on their own. So I'm guessing the shift before us, just like, I don't know, they just ditched because they were behind and just left us with all the dishes. But I don't know. It wasn't enough dishes for 1 hour to be piled up. Sorry, I'm losing my thought. I wrote some stuff out just to make sure I have something to glance out. Otherwise, this story would never be done in 15 minutes or so. But yeah, I have a ton of dishes to do, and actually, my first customer that I served, when I came in, there was like a bunch of online orders and a line to the door. I get my gloves on, I start serving, and then I got someone yelling at me, complaining that we're out of chocolate chip cookies. He first asked, why don't we have any chocolate chip cookies? I just go, I don't know, man. You just watched me clock in. I just got here. And then he goes, first he says, it's only 6 o'clock. Y'all should have cookies. I'm like, yeah, I know, sir. I'm really sorry. Well, how fresh are these? I don't know. I just got here. Like, I just told him 3 times, I just got here, I don't know anything. What do people think when you say, I don't know, I just got here? Why the heck are you gonna keep asking more questions? You should obviously know that I'm clueless on the situation. You were probably even the guy who was parking in my spot, who was in my parking spot, watching me struggle to park. Like, what do you want from me? Anyways, after serving everyone, doing dishes, making more cookies, I noticed there's another line forming up, so I go up there to help, and then my coworker asks, hey, can you get some more rotisserie chicken from the freezer? And I say, of course, yeah, I got you. I go to the back. I open the freezer door. Now, it's a pretty heavy door. And I haven't worked here in a good month or two. That was the last time I actually covered a shift at Subway, so my muscle memory is a little off. Honestly, I think I dropped a sandwich around the time I arrived. But yeah, I go to the freezer door, I open it, I walk in, placing my hand on the outside of it, trying to press the light button, a button that just like turns on the light. But there's like one of 12 buttons, so my muscle memory is a little off, so I couldn't just tap it right away. I was trying to find it for like a good 5 seconds, which turns out to be plenty enough time for the very heavy freezer door to just slam itself on my hand. Now, of course, I pulled my hand back, screaming to myself, and then I kind of just grabbed the rotisserie chicken and tried to ignore it. But it was actually hard because I actually couldn't feel any of my fingers on that hand. It freaking hurts. So yeah, I tried to ignore it, took the rotisserie up, put on a glove, and started serving customers using mainly my other hand. And after I brought it up to my coworkers, he said the nicest thing. Well, if it hurts that bad, I can finish your shift if you need to. That was, what, my 4th attempt to leave? But I thought about my broken bank account and said, no, I can endure it, and it's not that bad. Besides, I think I'm getting some of the filling back. And I look at the back of my hand, where there's supposed to be like a bump from a bone, but it was like literally turning black. But I could get a little bit of my filling back, so I told him not to worry about it, which was a huge mistake. So yeah, I made a huge mistake by telling him not that he could just leave at 8 and that I could manage the final, what, 3 hours? 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, 3 hours. But that was the biggest mistake of the night. I like to say the storm was over, but it was just worse from there. After my 3rd coworker left around 8, we only got busier. Then my coworker gets a customer, my other coworker gets a customer. I thought it wasn't that big of a deal when I heard him say, well, I don't know if I can really help you, but that guy over there, he can probably help you out. And I've been working at Subway for almost 2 years now. Actually, it might be 2 years. I used to basically be an assistant manager. The only reason I didn't agree to becoming an assistant manager is because it's $2 more than minimum wage and too much more responsibility. But I sighed, walked over to her, said, what can I get you? And she goes, I came from another store where they gave me moldy bread. At this point, I just started smiling at her because she kind of seemed like she was smiling too. I thought it was gonna be a, can I get a new sub from here? But boy, was I wrong. So I'm smiling going, that's weird. I don't know why that would have happened to you. And she starts saying, yeah, honestly, I've been crying about it. I could have gotten food poisoning, and when I went back, the manager cussed me out in Spanish. She first said I didn't know Spanish, and then she started cussing me out in Spanish. I know Spanish. I took 4 years of Spanish. At this point, I realized this wasn't a smile about a bad moment, make up for it moment. So I stopped smiling, of course. I didn't doubt that she knew Spanish, but I don't know Spanish. Who am I to call her a liar? But she seemed oddly focused on the Spanish subject. And then it turned to, I called the owner and he never replied to me, and I want to know why aren't I getting a response? And personally, I don't know the owner. I saw him once a month, like last year, whenever I worked 50 hours a week. I didn't know what to tell her. So I just said, well, ma'am, I'm sorry all this happened to you, but I don't know what to tell you. Then she says, is there someone else I can call, someone above the owner? Because nobody's responding to me. And my first thought is, this isn't my problem. How do I get rid of her? So then I come up with an idea. I say, oh, actually, I went up to the register, printed off an old receipt, and said, corporate's number is at the bottom of every receipt we hand out. This way, I can get rid of her, and she can be on her merry way. No longer my problem. She interrupts me saying, no, that's not corporate. I've already called them. They aren't getting back to me. So then she starts yelling at me. Honestly, I can't really give the emotion right now. This was like yesterday, last night-ish. Honestly, I'm exhausted for some reason. I'm like out of breath as I'm doing this. I don't even know why I'm out of breath. But yeah, she starts yelling at me, you don't get it, nobody is calling me back. I just want a refund. I'm not allowed to give a refund unless they order from our store. So I tell her I'm not allowed to do that, and she just goes, okay, you know what, you call corporate. They don't answer when I do it. I want you to call them right now. Get them on the phone. So at this point, it's all just awkward. I'm getting yelled at. I'm an introvert. I don't do well when talking to strangers. I especially just fall apart when I'm getting yelled at by one. So I just go to the back, grab the store phone, and call corporate. While typing his number, the woman is still yelling at me. She's yelling, you call them, you make sure they know I could have gotten food poisoning. No, I did get food poisoning, and it ruined my 4th of July. Tell him I expect something to be done because I'm gonna call. No, I've already called poison control. That was... She changed her sentence. I'm not changing my sentence. First she said she was gonna call, then she corrected herself saying she already did call. At this point I knew she was just changing her story. But unfortunately, corporate actually did answer. I was really hoping they wouldn't. But no, they answered. And so I just have one awkward phone call to make while this woman is screaming at me. Hey, I have a complaint about another store giving this woman moldy bread, and And while I'm talking, she's literally non-stop yelling at me. She yells at me to tell him, and it gave me diarrhea too. Tell him that. Yeah, she says it gave her food poisoning and that she wants a refund. At this point, I was hoping corporate would have understood that possibly a customer could have, I don't know, been holding a gun to my head demanding $500 out of the drawer, but I guess it's whatever, because he said, no, we can only give a refund if she brings the food back to the store. So I had to look that woman dead in the eyes and say, listen, ma'am, I don't even work here. Man, I wish that would have actually been very funny. But actually, she was still yelling at me, corporate was yelling at me, while the woman was yelling more. I couldn't even understand what both people were saying anymore. Eventually I heard the words, I only answered because it was Subway calling. Then I heard some more words like honeymoon and just got married. But that sounded far-fetched, so I assumed I wasn't hearing correctly because the woman was still yelling at me. So then I just said, can I hand her the phone and you just talk to her? And the woman seemed very fond of that idea, but corporate then repeated, no! I'm on my honeymoon. I just got married 2 hours ago. Yeah. He was no help to me. So the woman demanded I hand her the phone. I looked at her and said, I don't know if I'm allowed to. She got so angry, she stormed to the store connected to us, and I thought she had left for good, so I went to the back and started apologizing like crazy to corporate. Hey, I'm really sorry, I didn't know what to do. I was gonna call the manager, but she was demanding I called you. I didn't know what to do. And then corporate's like, hey, it's okay, I understand, but she's gone now, right? We took care of it. And in the heat of the moment, I said, yeah, she's gone, thankfully. But thinking about it now, we took care of it. You did nothing but yell at me while she yelled at me. Like, what? What? And then I looked at the cameras and I saw she was back. I heard my coworker at this point just offering her a free sub, and in which she replied, no, this place is disgusting. And she seemed angry that she was yelling, and that's the only reason I heard her from back there. But I was afraid to go back up there because I thought about it, and wasn't there like a Subway worker who got shot at for putting mayonnaise on the bread? Who knows what this woman might do? So honestly, if she had a gun, that wouldn't even be the problem. Remember, I'm an introvert. A gun is better than an angry customer yelling at you over something you didn't do. So I'm just talking to corporate, kind of hiding in the back. Thankfully, she stormed off again and didn't come back. But not 5 minutes later, the district manager came. I'm like, dude, where were you 5 minutes ago when she was nearly chewing my head off? He's just laughing at the whole situation. Turns out my coworker called him at some point and he just missed all the action. Once corporate kind of hung up on me, I called my sister who didn't even answer. So I ended up messaging her, hey, I just got fussed at by an angry customer. Can I go home? And then I looked up at the cameras. We have another line forming. Well, we're behind on dishes, chores, all the other stuff. It's almost 9 o'clock. Our break / get caught up time. Just went to a woman complaining about probably $6 to $15. Like, how am I supposed to handle that situation? And funny thing is, if I told one of my friends, they would have been like, man, I wouldn't have let her talk to me that way. Like, I'm not you! I don't know how to verbally defend myself! But yeah, while serving customers, my sister started calling me back. And she didn't even seem to care, honestly. Her biggest reaction was, LMAO, I'm too drunk for this. Like, what does she even want you to do? That's hilarious. Like, yep, glad you think it's hilarious. So eventually I just said, anyways, I've been brutally damaged both physically and verbally. My fingers are still numb from slamming the freezer door on my hand. It's like got a huge black spot on the bone. Can I just go home? And she said, nope. She just said, nope. So then I said, what if I cut off my hand? She said, nope. So then I just had to finish the shift. My coworker who left at 8 stopped by with a buddy wanting some food. I told him, you have no idea the hell I've been through. And so I told him too about the whole situation. And he said, the nonsense that goes on here, no one would believe. Remember that time you left a guy here by himself because you cut your thumb and had to go to the hospital? Turned out he was underage, so the police were called. He took off his shirt and threw it at the owner. His father was yelling at me too. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I just stopped by to see why the police were there, and suddenly I was asked to help close. I kid you not, nobody would believe the stuff that happens here. And so I'm like, yeah. It's pretty wild, the stuff that happens here. Maybe I'll make a YouTube video on this horrible night. I mean, I had 4 chances not to show up yesterday. Yet I could have died for all I know. I almost died for all I know. Who knows, if I went back up there, I almost probably died. I probably almost dodged the bullet. So yeah, this whole video is for my rough day at work yesterday. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you actually did enjoy it, then leave a like and comment that you want to hear more Subway shenanigans stories. There's some good ones. None comes to mind right now, but with your likes and subscribes, together, we can create a beautiful world. A world where I don't work minimum wage at Subway.